cure to poverty is education. To begin, I passed out a little quiz for you guys. So if you can answer right now what you think the right answers are, and at the end, whoever's closest gets a prize. We first have to talk about what poverty is. In the United States, a family is considered to be under the poverty line if they make less than about $23,000 per year. And unfortunately, we have currently over 30 million kids living in poverty. The children from the poorest 20% of families are 5 times more likely to drop out of high school than the rest of the children in America. I have a quick video to show how the conditions these kids are going through school.
How many of you have had the lights turned off at your house? How do you study when you don't have the lights on at home?
We have emergency flashlights, and I usually have to use them. I'll just light candles and sit around in a circle of candles.
Candles? Yes, ma'am.
I use candles because my mommy brings some.
I'll go out to the car and turn on the overhead and read out there and study.
So clearly, many of us, this is different than many of us have experienced. Most of us haven't had these conditions and we haven't had to go to them. And it seems like it's impossible for them to receive an education under these conditions. But in order to break the cycle, we have to make sure that we encourage that they stay in school and that they're able to get their diploma. Education is the only solution because it keeps these kids in a safe environment, and it shows that in order to better their future, they must finish high school and even further education. And we can see by this graph that there is a correlation. The poverty rates are reduced when the kids receive a further education. The difference between college graduates and high school dropouts and the poverty levels is just, it's huge. And then it's easier to prevent than to cure. It's better to fix a problem before it happens than to clean it up. Every year in school that a child stays increases the earnings by 10 to 20% in the future. Also, psychologically, it changes the perspective that these kids have towards themselves. Many poor kids feel that they're not worthy of receiving an education and that they're not meant to do well. But receiving that diploma makes them realize that they can hold a job and that they can raise a family, and it just betters the perspective that they see towards themselves. Okay, education will keep these kids off the street. It's sort of like a safe haven for these kids while their parents are hopefully out working. While they're in school, this reduces the chance that they're out committing crimes, so that they're doing drugs or other negative things that will impact society. I have a flyer to pass out which shows, it's like a little graphics over the conditions and how the education, how many kids are getting educated and the differences it has in society. Okay, and as you guys know, I explained to you guys how I volunteer at the homeless shelter at St. Francis House. And one day I was volunteering with this other girl, and she was explaining to me how she was forced by law to volunteer because she committed a crime, and she was either given the option of going to jail or volunteering. And while we were talking, she told me how she never received a high school diploma. She dropped out of high school. So I was talking to this 21-year-old lady who was explaining to me how hard it was to raise a child without even having a job. And I told her my best advice to her was to go out and get a degree because it opens so many doors. 27% of companies admit to have raised their education requirements recently. So basically, the people who are going to hire you are looking for the diplomas. And these kids that we want to get educated are the future of our world. It benefits our whole society to increase the socioeconomic statuses and the level of education. Service just teaches kids that everything in life is going to be handed to them. Well, when you get an education, you have to work hard and apply your knowledge. It shows these kids that in order to succeed in life, you're going to have to put more in than you can start to take out. We have a stereotype in our society that poor kids are just not smart. They either have delayed learning or learning disabilities, but it doesn't mean that they're dumb. Many times these kids either enter school late or don't prioritize school because they have to work for their families or because they just simply have other things in mind. We have to enforce the education so that the stereotype doesn't become true. Increased education is also correlated with better health. There is a statistic that says that an increase in education is positively correlated with increased life expectancy rate, and people with higher educations are less likely to die prematurely of drug problems and other health problems. So what can we do? I know that it seems that as students, there's nothing that we can do because we are out here receiving education and working hard. So there's a few options. We can advocate for increased funding to support schools. We can see by these pictures that there's no way that you can receive an education in these conditions. Also, we can volunteer at such schools and give tutor, give lectures, or bake.